Yo, what is up? This is Fling with DFS Army with your week 4 weekend review. We're looking at the Millie Maker, what won, MME strategy of top DFS pros in the Millie Maker. What are they doing to leverage the field? And also, we're going to take a look back at some big DFS Army wins. So let's get into it. All right, we'll start with a huge Thursday night winner from Ms. Tash. Double kicker, captain, 80K win. That makes 2 wins. The other was a baseball win, 20K, 100K total this year alone. So crushing it. And then we got a bunch of week 4 winners here. Smaller wins work too. So $1,000, first place, $500, just answering questions in the Discord. That's what you get as a DFS Army VIP. You get the community. Now, right now, we are doing this deal $44.99 for your first month. This is half off all tools, DFS, and of course, this is something that's expiring. So now is the chance VIP 50 to get in on this deal before it's over. So enjoying the community. And I will put the description in the video description. I will put that link for you so you can use VIP 50 at checkout. I do not think that deal is going to be going another week. So you definitely want to get in on that while you can. So let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. And we will look at what won the Millie Maker. So the Millie Maker, this was Justin Fields' stack. I'm pretty sure this was given out on Tournament Tactics. Justin Fields being in a good spot against Indy. Indy had just been poor defensively. Like they are a team that you want to continue to target until something gets turned around, or essentially just until further notice. So Justin Fields did a lot of running on his own. So did Pickens didn't post like a gotta have it score, but he got there with Fields. And this lineup, top to bottom, was really good. Now, these were a lot of the chalk pieces that we were on at DFS Army. We found you kind of in chalk with running backs, like it's actually quite good to just eat running back chalk. Now you want to fade wide receiver chalk often, and find spots for leverage because that chalk fills a lot. But kind of want to eat a lot of good chalk. James Conner didn't end up being super chalky in the Millie Maker, but he was in a lot of other contests. Chuba Hubbard was chalky, 19%, but crushed it here. And we liked Evans this week. Actually, this is a call that they gave out on Tournament Tactics on this channel. If you watch that show, you played Mike Evans, hit that like button, comment, let us know. Yeah, Tournament Tactics gave out Mike Evans. When you got Mike Evans at low ownership, that's exactly when you want to play him. Scored 23 points. Tampa was really all over Philly in that game. Jaden Reed became a good play once we got the info that Jordan Love was going to be back in the lineup. So love this play here from Stefan828. And by the way, only 10 lineups. You don't need to mass multi-enter the Millie Maker to win it, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. But yeah, I think that was a good play. You get Jaden Reed on under 10% ownership with Jordan Love coming back. Obviously, we have the Fields to pick and stack. Taysom Hill was back. A lot of people slept on it. 2% ownership. Runs a couple in. That's exactly how Taysom Hill gets there. He's not really a tight end. It's a cheat code some weeks. And then Nico Collins, this was a guy that was a core play for us at DFS Army, so I love this. Also, I'll say this. I love the Atlanta defense here because I think what we had seen from New Orleans, wasn't necessarily going to continue where they were just kind of boat racing teams. So I like this play, low, cheap defense at low ownership, and just kind of fading that recency bias. So use all 50K as salary, contrarian lineup, 100%, and then a 223. So pretty low scoring week, not surprising. But overall, I like this lineup. There wasn't a lot of correlation except, the Fields of Pickens. Not seeing any secondary stacks. I mean, you obviously wouldn't consider Taysom Hill versus Atlanta D a stack. Yeah, nothing here with Tampa. No other Carolina or Cincy players. We don't have another Washington player on the other side. So yeah, that was a one stack in this one. So um, that's going to do it for that lineup. Now we're going to look into some MME strategy. So we're going to go right away to C Sears 175. I got to be honest, I was thinking about this today. I think C Sears might be like one of the top DFS NFL players today. That maybe not enough people are talking about. Everyone talks about the Osmos and whatnot, but this dude consistently places top 10 in the Millie Maker. Who else does this? Like, I haven't seen it. Utica isn't doing it. Utica's won the Millie Maker multiple times, but this type of consistency I have not seen. And, we're going to look at Utica actually here in a minute, but um, again, C Sears, there's been 4 weeks. He's been in the top like 10, I feel like 3 times. Definitely in the top 5. He placed second, I think it was like week 2. And I definitely like top 25, like week 3. Here he is again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's sixth in the millie. So I'm gonna continue to look at this guy's exposures. Now, this is another thing they were talking about on tournament tactics on this channel. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel, hit that notification button so you don't miss it when we go live. But they were talking about playing Trevor Lawrence because he was actually looking pretty good in the domination station. And he's cheap. He had cheap stacking options. There's great bringbacks on the other side with Nico Collins, for example. And of course, you could just jam in all the studs over the entire lineup, which is what obviously C-Sears thought. Now, this is another thing that I think is pretty crazy is only 3% Justin Fields, and that's all it took to place top 10 in the Millie Maker. I think when your lineup construction is good, when you're onto the right cores, you got the right fades, you really don't need a whole lot of exposure to get close to the nuts lineup, which is what he did here. So obviously, Lawrence was the highest owned quarterback. Now, one thing you'll notice, that we kind of talk about, if you're going to have a stack that's highly owned, obviously he's going to have a ton of exposure to the pass catchers. However, you also won't see him go like 100% on a running back most weeks because you're going very narrow at quarterback, very narrow with your stack and your wide receivers. So you're going to go wider at running back. So this was something like Stat Station was talking about. You go narrow one spot, you're going to go wider other spots. So Najee was his top exposure, 43%. Najee had a terrible day. Like, it was a smash spot for him. But he just was terrible. He looked slow out there. Bijan, this chalk I didn't understand. I felt it was just weird chalk. Didn't looked at the metrics multiple times. Like, matchup wise, it didn't seem to make a lot of sense. But nonetheless, if the optimizer was jamming him in and you wanted less of him, but you put his projection down and they keep jabbing him in. It's like, oh, maybe I should just play this guy. And he did have a touchdown callback, but 30% there. James Conner, 34%. And then Brees Hall. I mean, I had a team in the mini max that had scored a 190 and with Brees Hall's 3. So absolutely crushed me. And crushed him probably from maybe getting to the nuts here. 28% Brees Hall. Definitely too much on this slate. And then did fade Saquon and Aaron Jones. I will say though, what is interesting is these guys were not projecting for this much ownership. So, you were definitely seeing some weird ownership in the millie. Faded Chuba, faded Akers. I get that. I get the Kyron fade in that spot. A little under on Brian Robinson and a little under on Jordan Mason, but it wasn't complete fades except for essentially like Aaron Jones, Saquon, who they weren't projecting for that much ownership. I think Saquon is projected for like 10. Now, obviously, going to be heavy on Brian Thomas, going to be heavy on Christian Kirk, and I think that's kind of the rule. Like if you're going to have that much exposure to a stack, you need to definitely make sure you get the pass catchers in that stack. Now, one thing I didn't look at earlier, not seeing any Gabe Davis here. So full faded Gabe Davis. clearly doesn't believe in him, and also had a lot of Nico Collins. So it it was almost like he was forcing a bring back, or he like boosted Nico Collins enough that he was popping and he just let it run, you know. And then yeah, I had a lot of Pickens too, and anytime you get a $5,700 player and scores 20 points, you got 48% exposure. Like that's pretty good. That's not bad. And wide receiver, there were some fades. So faded Marvin Harrison, who was chalk, faded Deontay. And I get that. He did have an injury tag. You got to make some fades for sure. Faded Jamar Chase. So, and I think a lot of that is just having 88% Nico Collins. Like he's a 7,200 wide receiver. It's going to be hard to get the lineup the way you want with guys like Marvin Harrison, Chase, and Diggs, but definitely had salary for Deontay. Now, tight end, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Schultz. Um, I think Kyle Pitts is just not good. Not getting separation. And just so many people were wrong on that guy. Like so many people thought that dude was going to be really good in the NFL, and he's been just a massive disappointment. The Schultz play makes sense because he had so much Trevor Lawrence. I'm guessing he was a bring back. Same thing, Brenton Strange. So I'm actually surprised he didn't have a little bit more Brenton Strange for as much Lawrence as he had. And yeah, a little bit of Kelsey. It was actually like it was a good week to fade Goddard. For as many people were on him in a score, nowhere near tournament's winning score. Tommy Tremble, I did not see that coming. Like a donut from him was surprising, with Thielen being out, but Leggett ended up getting all the Leggett and Mingo obviously were like the pay down options there, but Leggett ended up being the guy to own. Arizona D, Atlanta D, so double the field on Atlanta D. That's pretty good. But yeah, C Series once again. He, like I said, I can't speak for every sport, but I can speak for the NFL and the Millie Maker, and he's definitely one of the top guys. All right, so we're gonna look at Utica, and obviously Utica is, regarded by a lot of people as the, top DFS pro today. So we're gonna take a look at his lineup. Now, his top build, CJ Stroud, he was a guy we were on. I liked Stroud this week. I had a lot of Stroud, Collins, and Diggs. But unfortunately, I had a lot of Brees Hall. So, that's kind of how that goes. Jordan Mason, he was a core, and really he smashed. And, you know, I think with this lineup, Stroud was lower owned than expected. We expected Collins and Diggs to get ownership because they both projected quite well. Stroud was lower than expected. A lot of people, I think Mason too, because Mason was projected for like 27 to like 30% ownership. And I think a lot of people naturally are just gonna fade that in like large field GPPs. Like I kind of did because I had a lot of Debo and Kittle, right, for like leverage off of Mason shock. But a lot of people kind of have that same mentality. So it's kind of like, well, if you would have known when you flip the cards over, if you would have known he was going to be 17% owned and, not closer to 30, I would have ate that chalk. So that's another thing why we like to come and look at these past lineups, because you start to see trends like, oh, this guy's going to be really chalky. A lot of people are probably going to want to fade him in the Millie Maker. Maybe I should just eat that chalk. And specifically a running back, that's why, one of the things we found out by back testing past slates, like you kind of just want to eat running back chalk and look to get different elsewhere. Brian Robinson was so close to having a massive day, and I had a ton of it. And it didn't feel like he had a good day because you watched McNichols run in 2 touchdowns that you felt should have went to Brian Robinson, or at least one of those two, without Eckler in the game. And of course, So he ends up with 23 points, but it felt like a loss because all you remember is McNichols getting all the tutties. Uh, but yeah, I think Robinson was a great play in that spot. And, went Tucker Craft here. I thought that, well, look at his exposure. So I thought that was really sharp because when you know Jordan Love is going to play, it's kind of like with C. Sears, seeing, I don't know if it was C. Sears, but it was the Millie Maker. You know, let's jam in a little bit of Jaden Reed. Let's get some Dontavius Wicks. Let's get Tucker Craft. These guys that are now elevated because Jordan Love is back in the lineup. And Christian Kirk had a good day too. And he was a good bring back with Stroud stacks, and that was a good thing about playing Stroud stacks too. Is there were cheap bringbacks on the other side. All right, Utical's exposures. Burrow. So Burrow was the top guy. I liked Burrow. That was a great spot for him. He obviously jammed in Jordan Love once that news came out. Um, you know, 1% owned, he got 12%. So I loved that. I hand built a couple Jordan Love lineups, and I'm like, wasn't enough. I should have, hand built 10. Um, just we always like look back at the slate, and the picture is so clear sometimes in hindsight. Like I should have done this, I should have done that. Got to make note of it. You know, keep it for future reference. Dalton, I like Dalton. I didn't like him that much because of the week that he had before, but I get this play. Stroud, obviously, and then he was under on Kyler, and I like that. I was under on Kyler too, from what I thought I would be when I first looked at the slate. And Jaden was the guy you wanted. You needed more Jaden, but yeah, if he would have been over here, definitely would have been a better day. Now, Bijan was way over on Bijan, and this is really what killed Utical's day. Yeah, Najee nowhere near tournament winning upside, but Bijan really killed him. Connor Robinson and Jones. I loved Jones in that spot. Revenge game narrative actually fed into it that time, and he would have had a pretty good day if he had gotten another touchdown, or if he would have got a touchdown. He had the yardage was there, just needed a touchdown. And then under on Saquon, under on Chuba, Jordan Mason, and Brees Hall. So under on a lot of the chalk running backs. Hall, I mean, being under on Hall was great, but yeah, under on Mason, under on Chuba, that really hurts you, especially when you're that heavy on Bijan. A lot of Nico Collins, a lot of Jamar Chase, and um, minus 270 in the Millie Maker, $3,500 entry fees to max it. That's a pretty good day. And these two players right here have a lot to do with it. Had a good amount of Mingo. Had Ayuk, Higgins. I liked Higgins on the slate a lot too. And then C being over on Reed, Dobbs, Leggett. Quadrupled the field on Leggett. So that was a good one. Now, I wanted to look at, like what do the pros do with the cheap guys? Because that would that was it for me. When we look back at past slates, we always see this 3K, this 4K guy that hits 6-7x their salary and they win some on the Millie Maker. So there were so many of them on the slate. I was just like, I need to have like 10% exposure to like all these guys. Michael Wilson, I thought would smash, and he almost had a much better day. Didn't have a good day, but almost had like a decent day. Trey Tucker smashed. Paris Campbell, the domination station was pushing him. He did well. But yeah, it was really like, hitting on these cheap guys. Now, I faded Rice and then ended up working out because of the injury, but some of these fades like they come back to bite you, but that's how you have to play. Baden Diggs hurt a little bit here. Same with Pickens, and Trey Tucker. So like those three fades didn't really want to have those. But yeah, the Marvin Harrison fade, that was definitely a good And then yeah, 0% Tommy Tremble would have been great. And got really burned at tight end, but it was a really bad week for tight ends. And that's one thing I've been thinking about. You'll notice the Millie Maker winners, if you look at these past lineups, if you watch the show, um, the Millie Maker winners, like we've now seen, when did DraftKings go to FanDuel? We've now seen 3 out of 4 Millie Maker winners have running back in the flex. So that's something I've been thinking about even more with the tight end position the way it is. It's almost like it would make sense to fade tight end in the Millie Maker and take that 10% in the flex that you would set for your optimizer and shift it to the running back because, or just let running back run free at this point in the flex because 75% of these slates, if you had a running back in the flex, like you were on the right path. All right, we're gonna look at one more DFS Pro. Utica obviously didn't win money. Chipotle Addict. I want to look at him because he's had a couple good back-to-back weeks. Won $900. Of course, he had 3 dupes, but out of 150, that ain't bad. And this top lineup was 340. So this was the Fields to Pickens to Fryermuth, and I don't think you need to double stack Fields. So, but hey, sometimes it could work. Like he's been in the winning Millie Maker lineup in Chicago with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, right? So this was a double stack, and he had Kyron, he had Chuba, so really good Chuba chalk there. Yeah, Kyron's going to get the bulk of the carries, so he's always going to be in play. And then Diggs and Reed, of course, another sharp play. And we're going to look at his exposures. I'm pretty sure he actually might have had a decent amount of Reed. And then Jordan Mason. So overall, he had a contrarian lineup because he had Carolina's defense at 3%. 1 point, but nonetheless, he had they were contrarian. Fryermuth was contrarian. Pickens was just above 10%. Jaden Reed contrarian, and then he had Fields who was contrarian. So good lineup, good top lineup there. Again, running back in the flex is his best lineup. Now he's got Lawrence, Fields, Stroud is his top exposure. So, far cry from C Series, might go 75, might go 90%. Here, max is 20%. And playing 14 quarterbacks. So a lot of different quarterbacks. But it makes more sense, obviously, in 150. Had a lot of Mason, had a lot of Kyron. So really good right there, but too much Bijan, too much Brees Hall. Moss was okay. He got a touchdown, but Chase Brown got 2, so that kind of crushed him. And, really just kind of even on Connor, a little over the field on Shuba. And, pretty much everyone faded Barkley. Also faded Brian Robinson. And you didn't really want to do that. So Mingo, that's kind of something you saw. And I'm guessing he was under on Deontay. He was a little bit. And, that's kind of one thing you want to think about. Like when I talk about like fading chalk wide receivers, running backs, they pretty much, with the exception of like McNichols, right, just randomly get goal line carries over Brian Robinson. Like running backs, that touchdown equity is pretty strong. Like Jordan Mason is getting the goal line carries when he's out there. When Christian McCaffrey was healthy, he's getting the goal line carries. That's how it is on a lot of teams. Like it's pretty cut and dry. Like James Conner is getting the goal line carries, but at wide receiver, like defensive backs could just decide they're going to take Deontay Johnson out of the game. So how does that chalk fail? Well, Jonathan Mingo has a good game, or Xavier Legette has a good game, right? Someone else other than the number 1 wide receiver has a good game. Jalen Waddle has a big game over Tyreek Hill because the defensive coordinator has decided they're going to slow down Tyreek Hill. So that's why wide receiver chalk fills. So, it's just thinking in terms of direct leverage. Trey Tucker here, 18%. Greg Dortch. Let's play some Dortch in case Marvin Harrison fails. And by the way, he faded Marvin Harrison too. Same thing. And he also played 25% Michael Wilson. So overall did, really good. Kirk, Diggs, Collins. Those were good plays. George Pickens, bad luck with Rashee Rice. Good on Tucker. So overall at wide receiver, a lot more good than bad. And yeah, Goddard did not have a tournament winning score. So you would have thought he would have smashed, but same with tight ends. Tight end is such high variance. Goddard will never have a better spot than he had. Like AJ Brown's out, Devonta Smith's out. Got 11 targets a week before. Doesn't have tournament winning value at 5,100. But had Tucker Craft and made up for it. Had some Strange, and he got some Strange. Yeah, not a ton of Tommy Trimble, and smashed with Atlanta's defense. I had them as well, so I know they scored 16 points. So 48%, really went all in there. Just saw a lot of value, so that was pretty good. But yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this week. If you like this kind of content, let me know. Hit that like button. Let us know. Comment. Let me know how the slate went for you. Who did you play? And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Like I said, this is the last week to get in on the $49.99 DFS All Sports. Basketball is about to start, so get in on that while you can. I will put the link in the video description. And it's not just the tools. So we have a lot of tools. We have the matchup sheet, the projections, the domination station, which is amazing optimizer. You could do so many, customize it for every slate. You can back test it. You can find the settings that work for you. But the Discord community is what a lot of people say is the best part of the DFS Army. Couldn't agree more. That's why I started as a member several years ago and decided I wanted to stick around and be staff. So last chance for the $40 off. So use code VIP50 at checkout. Make sure you stay tuned. You're subscribed to the channel because a lot of content coming your way in the next several days, starting with the first look tomorrow. So we'll see y'all next time. Take care.